welcome to Peak Radar Live. I'm Angela Seals. Theater and Film Week of Arts Month 2020 kicked off just a few hours ago with an incredible virtual theater showcase that featured 8 local theater companies. It was organized by my first guest, Cyndi Parr. Hi, Cyndi. Welcome to the show.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
Congratulations on the premiere. I got to watch it live. Our viewers now can catch the showcase at tinyurl.com/artsmonthshowcase. Tell them what they're going to find when they go to that URL.
Great. Yeah, today we did a showcase piece of 8 local theater companies here in Colorado Springs. We had a piece from Of Spacious Skies from the Fine Arts Center with the visual companion piece alongside it. You can download all of those episodes on their website and just donate a little bit extra, and you can see the visual piece also.
Yeah, that's been a great project.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've seen about half of it, and I'm excited to see how the other episodes go as well.
Yeah. So that's an example of how the theater companies were showing kind of short excerpts from larger projects.
Right. Yeah, we had about 10 minutes from episode 2 today on that. So it's a great introduction to their full piece and a good way to kind of see what they're doing on adapting to the new challenges that we're all going through with this pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you tell us the companies, the 8 companies that are part of it?
Yeah, so we had the Fine Arts Center. We had TheaterWorks did an excerpt from House Arrest. They had 2 of their performers do live monologues today. It was really exciting to see Cherish and both Sean perform that today. Yes. That'll be streaming, I think, in a couple of weeks here. So, and they take any donation, I think, between 0 and 20 or however many you're willing to donate to see that piece. And they did it in a real socially distanced, safe way. They were filming the actors from 25 feet away. My sister actually helped with some of the filming on that, and she said they all got COVID tests ahead of time and wore masks, and was super safe on doing that. So.
It's just amazing the obstacles that are being overcome right now to produce the work that we're seeing. Even the work that we're seeing virtually requires so much preparation. And I'm sure that this showcase did too. Can you tell us a little bit what it was like to work with 8 different theater companies to put something like the virtual theater showcase together?
Right. Yeah. Like everybody was super on board. I mean, really responsive, real excited to be part of this. We had Craft Production Resource also part of this. They had Phil Ginsberg performing part of his play and some of his poetry. And they're releasing some of the shows that they've recorded also through Arts Month and Peak Radar. So you can see some of those, I think, starting today. So it's a really
That's right. That's right. Craft Production Resources is premiering 3 works by local, of course, performers and playwrights. And you can find out about that at ArtsOctober.com under highlights. They'll be trickling those out throughout Theater and Film Week this week. So definitely check that out at ArtsOctober.com.
Awesome. Yeah. And we also had Millibo Art Theater performing. So we had a recorded performance from Babette, from Birgitta DePree and Jim Jackson and Hannah Rocky. They did a couple of their scenes that they've had online.
It was hilarious.
They were great.
It was hilarious. And that's something you should all know. Like if you go watch the virtual theater showcase, it had a real range. Like you open up with such fantastic comedy. And I'll tell you, starting with Millibo and seeing Jim Jackson as Art Guffaw the clown, such a beloved character in local performance. And then Birgitta, of course, as Babette is so funny. And then to see they show the empty seats during their 10-minute piece. And it really tugs at the heart. And I think it was a wonderful opening because it reminds you of all the things you love about local theater and the incredible dramatic context that we're all in right now. Yeah.
Really
and on the other end of it, there were some really dramatic performances too.
Right. Yeah, I was trying to balance them both. And I loved opening with that one because it spoke exactly to us missing our audiences. I mean, that's a big part of a live performance is getting to have that live interaction with an audience,
Sure.
And we're doing our best with like YouTube and having the live commenting and having interactive pieces like this or through Zoom. Sure. But we really miss each other, and theater is definitely one that needs people,
Of course we do. And if you're watching live right now, you can let us know you're watching by commenting, and we'll be able to see that. And yeah, we can all interact in a limited way, but in still a way that we feel, maybe even more so when you're performing a monologue to your monitor in your bedroom.
Yeah,
as some of the incredible performances were today. It's good to know there's people out there. Springs Ensemble Theater had a different setup because their current production of White was filmed in a theater and then is currently being screened. And so they had a few people in the audience. And I'll tell you, Cyndi, hearing people laugh in the audience, even just a couple or people respond, it gave me that hunger. Like, live audiences.
Right. And the thing with theater too is it's so temperate. You know, it's like in this moment. You have to catch it in this moment. And White in particular is only on through tonight. So if you get a chance to live stream that, definitely get it in by tonight, because that'll be the end of that performance. And
That's right.
So great.
That's right. And that's through Springs Ensemble Theater.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Really a fantastic accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. And we and some of the theaters are adapting too by creating like new ways to do theater outside. I know the Melbourne Art Theater has an outdoor holiday play coming up, and then a Theater Across Borders also did a trail play in conjunction with the Bear Creek Nature Center and Fountain Creek Nature Center.
Yes, where you hiked through the park and you encountered the different characters along the way. I heard that was so fun, and what a neat and also family friendly. And so perfect in our location where people live here because they love to be outside and to get to experience the arts outside, just like when, when TheaterWorks does their Shakespeare in the park, like it's just, or Shakespeare at the ranch. It's wonderful to get to be outside and enjoy theater too.
Oh, it's great. It does give you that human connection, and it really helps bridge that gap, especially in challenging times like now. And Theater to Art's doing something very similar right now with the Manitou Springs Heritage Center. They're doing the ghost stories of Manitou Springs hiking tours. So right now, I think every Friday you can go and meet different characters from like our own local history and see a different play interpreted a new way, live in small groups with masks. So.
That's right. That's through October 30th. And that's a wonderful collaboration between Theater to Art and the Manitou Springs Heritage Center. And very seasonal.
Very seasonal.
Very seasonal too. So as Cyndi just said, support for local theater is so tantamount right now. And you can support by participating in virtual performances like watching the virtual theater showcase. But you can also support by hopping on ArtsOctober.com, and you'll find there the page about the virtual theater showcase. Cyndi has put together such an incredible lineup with the virtual theater showcase. So of course we want you to hop on YouTube and watch the entire production, which was about an hour, wasn't it?
Hour 15.
Hour 15. It really goes because every company performs just for 10 minutes. So it has a wonderful momentum. But here you can check out that full lineup on artsoctober.com, and you'll see that for every single theater company of the 8, there is a donate button. And we do hope that you will support by watching, that you will support by going and learning more about a theater group that maybe you haven't heard about, and that you'll support them through the artsoctober.com website. And you have supported them, Cyndi, by putting together this incredible showcase. Thank you so much for your work on this. What do you hope people take away from the experience of watching this showcase?
Yeah, today I was really looking for that connection, that community connection, and getting to see like 8 of our wonderful theater companies. And this is only 8 of about 40 that I think I've counted locally, like that are participating in Colorado Springs. And these happen to be 8 that are real active doing theater right now and adapting to new ways to theater. So it was really great to get to showcase that. So I hope people, in the spirit of Arts Month, in the spirit of Arts October, really just finding new ways to engage in the arts, or finding ways to connect with theater in ways that they might not have thought of originally, going on a trail hike or watching a Zoom play or watching a live stream. There's ways to stay connected. We hope you watch. We hope you participate. We did something similar with this with Dragon Theater Productions this summer. We did another Zoom play in collaboration with the theatrical response team. And we are so, so glad that they were able to collaborate with us. I think this is the 5th show I've actually worked on with them, and they're just phenomenal to work with. They figured out a lot of really fun things to do with Zoom and to make it as live and as realistic of a theatrical performance as we can get through our own computers and keep it safer for everybody to do from home. Dragon Theater is hoping to do another holiday show this winter, so if anybody wants to come audition and participate, we hope you find new ways to do that too. And yeah, we just really want that connection with everybody and hope that you support us. Those donate buttons definitely go a long way in a lot of these theater groups that have had to keep their doors shut for an unprecedented amount of time. So yeah, your financial support helps too, for sure.
It's true. Well, thank you so much for being a bridge
Thank you.
person and a person who connected 8 theater companies for this incredible showcase. So it premiered earlier this afternoon, and now it is up to watch. And we do hope that you'll support local theater, especially during Virtual Theater and Film Week for Arts Month. Thank you so much, Cyndi.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Well, when I was putting together the show's lineup for tonight, I thought it wouldn't be a true Pikes Peak Region Theater and Film Week episode of Peak Radar Live without talking a little bit about melodrama. Joining me next are 2 people who know a whole lot about that. Rebekah Ratteree of Iron Spring Chateau, that we just got to see a little taste of there, and Chris Armbrister, who is with Thin Air Theater Company in Cripple Creek. Hi, Rebekah. Hi, Chris. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Angela.
Hello, Angela. It's nice to see you again.
It's so great to have you on. You know, melodrama holds a very special place in the theater community here because it's such a regional flavor. It's such a part of the arts in the American West. Can you tell us a little bit about, maybe I'll start with you, Rebekah, because Iron Spring Chateau is celebrating its 60th anniversary. Can you give us a taste of the history, just for a quick moment, the history of melodrama in our community?
Well, I mean, there's quite a history of melodrama in the Pikes Peak region. In the late 1970s, around 1978, there were about 5 melodramas running on a regular basis. And
wow, really?
Yeah, in our area. Unfortunately, most of those have died out, but the Iron Springs is still going strong, and we're really hoping to come back next year in full gear. So.
Yeah, that's so interesting to hear that. And Chris, Thin Air Theater Company at the Butte Theater. Now, the Butte has been a spot for melodrama for years. What's it like for you to participate in melodrama?
Well, melodrama for me, it started with when I first came out of graduate school. I came and worked for the Wayne and Dorothy Mackin, who had started melodrama up at the Imperial. Back in Cripple Creek, back in the 1947, I believe, is when they started it.
Wow.
They ran it, the melodrama up there for years and years and years, and then their son and daughter took over, and then the city became involved with the Butte and refurbished Butte. And then in 2007, I joined forces with a couple of other old timers who had learned directly from Wayne and Dorothy. To bring melodrama back at the Butte, along with some other, and we also do some other stuff as well. But our big show every year is the summer melodrama, and then of course we've also started doing adaptations in a melodrama format of things like Christmas Carol, and Chris Sorensen, who's written a lot for us, does a lot of the melodrama format for everything from Frankenstein to Dr. Jekyll.
Yeah. Well, and that's a great point, right? This is not only backward looking. That melodrama is a kind of a style of theater. And so while we often think of it in the old Western context, you guys, Rebekah at Iron Spring Chateau, I've seen Olio that was all like laughing, like all 1970s. I mean, it's really fun to see the way you all bring in different eras into that style. Maybe someone is watching the show who's never seen melodrama. And one time I was on a television interview when I said melodrama, and they said, "Oh, that sounds very serious." And I said, "Oh, God, no." No, it's not.
Yeah.
So I don't want to assume that everyone knows what it is. Can maybe I'll ask each of you to give me like your one sentence, what is or your little elevator speech, what is melodrama?
Oh, wow.
Rebekah, we'll start with you.
Yeah, ours is a little more than a sentence. Ours, we tend to describe our melodrama as audience participatory musical comedy, because people don't necessarily understand the word melodrama or variety show any longer. What we do is we tell them it's cartoonesque, that it's very physical.
Cartoon-esque. I like that.
Yes. I think we may have made up that word. We always tell them that you boo the villain, you cheer the hero, you ooh and ah your lovely heroine, and you hubba hubba your vamp. You know, because we will always have those stock characters in our shows.
Yeah. Okay, Chris, what's your summary of
our summary? Because it's a slightly different take. It's actually interesting. I love the fact that Iron Springs is just down the hill from Cripple Creek for us, because we have a slightly different. We try to bring ours, especially our summer melodrama, is always going to be one of a classic Victorian style. We tell our actors when we bring them in that they're going to be doing some very classic period type work. And then, of course, the stock characters, as Rebekah mentioned, are definitely a part of that. And we try to bring those characters to the forefront. And again, it being a heightened style, it is a larger than life characterization that allows the audience to get it. We also encourage the booing and cheering, because that audience participation is such a key element of melodrama. But that's sort of our take on it. And then, of course, the oleo, which has to be there.
The oleo has to be there. That's like the after party.
Yeah.
Melodrama show. So one of the things I would love to focus on next is the role you each play in your communities, because the role that Thin Air Theater Company and the Butte Theater hold in Cripple Creek, and the role that Iron Springs Chateau has held in Manitou Springs for 60 years, has a lot to do with tourism and cultural tourism and economic impact in your community. So can you tell us a little bit about that, about how you fit into the larger context of your town? Rebekah, you can start.
Oh, that's kind of a
You
hard
need a
question.
minute? I can start with Chris.
I know. The Iron Springs, as a tourist attraction, has literally been in Manitou Springs for 140 years. So it's kind of difficult to picture Manitou Springs without it.
Yeah.
The last 60 years, it's been a melodrama dinner theater, but before that, it was a myriad of other things as well. And so it's very difficult for me to even think, how
what would Manitou Springs be?
Yeah, what it would be like without it, because it's never existed that way as far as I can.
No, I mean, that really says a lot, because that is a cultural venue that is so deeply embedded in the history and the identity and the tourism and the economy of your town. And that's really a very beautiful thing.
Yes, and the guy that originally built it actually contributed to the building of Manitou Springs itself. So it's quite historical. It's really a part of the town. Yeah.
Chris, talk a little bit about Thin Air Theater Company and the role you guys play. You draw people from all over up into
Yeah, our role within especially the tourist element. We've tried to maintain what we inherited from the Mackins and whatnot. But what sets us apart is we work hand in hand with the city. The Butte Theater, the facility is actually owned by the city of Cripple Creek, and they work with us to come in, and we'd come in and do the program and run the program for them, working with Mel Moser, who, if you've been to see a melodrama in the last 20 years at Cripple Creek, you've seen Mel. He's the just staple of the program up there, and he actually works for the city and runs the facility. And we are brought in to run the programming for them, and we bring people as far as promoting the shows from all over. We do hire our performers from all over the country, and our artists. The Thin Air Theater Company has brought people, as far away, music directors from London and choreographers from Dublin, Ireland, and all over to come in and work with us. And we try to spread the word and spread the melodrama feel through those locations as well.
Yeah.
And remind people, because I think all too often people think, oh, melodrama, it comes off like people think it's gone, it's out. It's like, no, it's still alive and well. And there's lots of places.
So much fun. I mean, come and have food and have beverages with your friends. I mean, now I'm starting to get nostalgic again, like for when which actually is a good segue, because both of your theaters are dark right now.
Yes.
And we're talking about how deeply they're woven into the life of their community, and right now they are closed. So can you each tell us how our viewers, how our cultural community of the Pikes Peak region, how people can support you right now as you look forward to your reopening? Chris, let's start with you, because I know Thin Air Theater Company has already announced some plans for 2021. Is that right?
We actually, what we ended up doing was we ended up having to close. We tried to hold off as long as we could by just pushing back the start of our summer season, and then ended up closing our whole season. And what we were able to do was working closely with Chris Sorensen, who did write and adapt our summer melodrama and some of the other stuff that we do. We were able to get our entire season postponed until next year. We are looking forward to, we go into rehearsals May 24th of next year with an opening date in June, and we'll kick off our full summer season at that point. And we're really excited about that. I do know at the Butte they are planning, Mel is working on some other arts activities and events to take place earlier before we start up with the professional melodrama program up there and whatnot. But what exactly those are, I mean, will depend. And of course, as unfortunate as we all know it is, we all just, I'm sure most of your viewers probably read recently this past week that Broadway made that horrible announcement that we all cried about, or at least I did, about they're not opening until June now.
Yeah, that sent reverberations, I think, through the arts community of the United States.
It did. I will tell you that last week was the week that I had sent out notices. This was right before that announcement. I had sent out notices to all of the actors and the artists that we had hired for the 2020 year. And as of right now, 85% of them have already signed on for next year. And they are just so excited to be in Cripple Creek and in the Pikes Peak region to do stuff.
Yeah. And actually that brings up, we should mention that you both have a kind of a non-traditional theater season that you follow. So Chris, I know yours usually goes from June through December.
Yes,
right?
June through December 31st.
And Rebekah, I'm sorry, are you also summer and fall, or do you guys run all year usually?
We usually run all year.
Okay.
We've begun doing a murder mystery during Valentine's Day, and we just kind of open for that one weekend.
Yeah.
And then we shut back down, and then we go to March, and we do our March season. March is the beginning of our summer season, and we'll run 2 melodramas till September, and then we'll open again in Halloween for Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Rocky Horror.
Yes. And then we
more things that we're missing. We're just listing all the things we're missing. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And then we'll do our Christmas show in December. So the only time we're truly dark is January. So
right.
Yeah, that's our season.
Easily and right now. So how can people support Iron Springs Chateau right now?
No, wonderfully, the Iron Springs is a little unique in that we're located right next to the base of the incline and Bar Trail and Red Mountain and a lot of these hiking trails. So we have been very lucky that during the day we are able to park cars, and that is the best way that you can support us right now. Since we're a for-profit theater, we're reluctant to ask for donations or anything like that. But if you're an outdoorsy person and you're going to go on a hike anyway, and you decide to come to Manitou, if you park with the Iron Springs, then you're helping us pay our bills so that we can bring our people back next year.
That's something so simple to do. That's something so simple to do. Well, thank you both for being on with us today, for telling us a little bit about melodrama. I am going to speak to all the locals out there and say that if you have not enjoyed the incredibly fun events that these two theater companies put on, you should be a tourist in your own community as well. And you should take a date, take your family, take your parents, take your kids when they reopen and celebrate with them. They're reopening in 2021 by enjoying some great food and some live melodrama, because it really is a fun night. Thank you both for what you do and for the roles you play in your community that are so important.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Angela, for having us. We really appreciate it.
We are so grateful for the vibrant, diverse arts and culture community in the Pikes Peak region. The arts enrich our community, making it a better place to live, work, play, and visit. Visitors rank arts and culture experiences among the top activities when exploring a destination. It's been a tough year for everyone to navigate, and our incredible arts community has kept the spirit of Colorado Springs alive. With virtual First Friday art walks and creative drive-by events, they helped us adapt and continue to be inspired. Visitors will find a wide variety of artistic experiences in our area, including self-guided art on the streets exhibits. One of them you can find right behind me. We encourage visitors and residents alike to get out and explore creativity at its peak during Arts Month.
Thanks so much, Doug. And thank you to all the community leaders who did special video messages for us during Arts Month. You can see those on the Cultural Office's Facebook page all through ArtsOctober, and also here on Peak Radar Live throughout our 5 special Arts Month episodes. Now we're going to turn to our community conversations, which are a special series that's running throughout the month of October for Arts Month. We have 8 different community conversations hosted by different arts leaders, and you can find out the full lineup at ArtsOctober.com, of course. But today we have with us the next 2 moderators for Theater and Film Week. Ralph Giordano, who will be hosting our film panel and also talking about theater a little bit too, and Scott Levy, who will be talking about theater in his community conversation. Thank you both. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you.
So it's been really, really neat for the Cultural Office for Jonathan Toman on the Cultural Office staff to put together community conversations, because he's been describing how he invites community leader, arts leader, would you like to host a panel? And there's like an idea, like, I know what I want to talk about. And when I saw your titles for your panels, I thought these men know what they want to talk about for their community conversation. They're so interesting. So let's tell folks what they're going to be. So Ralph is going to be hosting Independent Theater and Film, Crisis Management and Survival Tactics During a Pandemic. And that will be happening on Wednesday, October 14th. At 7 o'clock. And then Scott is hosting Yes and the Current Creativity and Dreams of the Springs theatrical community. And that's coming up this Friday, October 16th at 6 p.m. And they all can be viewed at ArtsOctober.com and also on the Cultural Office's Facebook and YouTube page. Did you see the moment?
Yeah.
You all know what it looks like when someone blanks a line. They all can be viewed online and through the Cultural Office's social media. So thank you both for joining us. Ralph, let's start with you, because your conversation is coming up here in just a couple of days. Tell us about who you invited to be on your panel.
Well, first, it sounds like my panel is really about a dire situation because it's about pandemic, but really we're going to talk about things that we did to make things change and make things happen. For the positive. So my guests include Tom Shepard from Youth Documentary Academy.
Yes.
They've had to make a lot of changes this summer. We also have Emery Collinson, who's representing Springs Ensemble Theater and Rocky Mountain PBS. Mm-hmm. And I have Heartland Emmy Award-winning filmmaker Jamie Hastings joining us to represent her company, which is You May Clap Films.
Right. Fantastic. And Scott, who did you invite to be on your panel?
I invited a bunch of colleagues and friends that I like to talk with. So
that can make a really great panel.
Yeah. So I'm just thrilled that Joining me on Friday will be Caitlin Lowens, the artistic director of TheaterWorks, Jim Jackson, the co-artistic director from the Millabo Art Theater, Matt Radcliffe, who's the president at Springs Ensemble Theater, and Jonathan Andujar, who is representing Theater to Art. So really great conversation with a wide swath of theatrical organizations here in town.
Fantastic. Well, I really thought it was a moment having both of you on and both of your experience in the local art scene and in theater and film. It was really a moment to maybe reflect for a minute about where we're at. Not to put pressure on you to speak for your entire portion of the arts community, but where do you think we're at? No, the question is, how do you think folks are feeling right now in the theater and film community? We've talked throughout this episode about innovation, about resilience, about the economic hardship of being dark. We've alluded to all of these things, but I wonder if you can just kind of put into words for folks who maybe are huge fans of sitting in the audience, what it's feeling like within the theater community and what it's feeling like within the film community right now during Arts Month in the middle of the pandemic.
It's hard. Right. I mean, it's hard to quantify all of that. I know that it's so exciting that there's so much innovation happening through all of the arts communities. And at the same time, it is sad. It is sad that we are not able to gather and create in the way that we are used to and that we've trained for and we want to do, I think, more than anything else. But there is so much creativity coming out of this time. And that's part of what I'm interested in the discussion that I'll have on Friday is what are some of the things that we've only just discovered that we are going to be able to now utilize as part of our toolbox going into the future. It's a mixed bag, and it's a mixed bag by the day. And I think we've been hearing that through this whole episode, Angela. And it just not just here, everywhere in the country.
Yeah, that's true. We're not alone in facing this, which is interesting. And I think we have all been kind of turning to our colleagues in other places to learn from what they're doing. The first time I saw an online show about the arts was my old colleagues from Pittsburgh. It was the second week of quarantine in March, and they were playing around on OBS Studio, just putting together some kind of fun art. They had a cellist and some dancers, and they were just experimenting. And I thought, okay, this is part of what we're going to do. It was encouraging.
Yeah.
See people start to experiment and to know we're not alone.
And I'll just say that personally, this big project that we're working on at the Fine Arts Center Theater of Spacious Skies, I was just looking at some of the analytics, and we have listeners to our radio play series in over 30 states and 3 countries. So the expansion of our work is happening. It is totally thrilling.
Great.
Yes, because being present digitally has been difficult. It's been difficult for we have a lot of volunteer run and small arts organizations in the Pikes Peak region who struggle with having a really powerful digital presence that shows them off to the world. And so I have been thinking about that, Scott, wow, we probably look better to the rest of the country right now than we ever have because we're so visible in a way we haven't been. That's fantastic news. Ralph, what do you think about this?
Well, one of the things that Scott said earlier was that there are things that we're learning now that's going to help us move forward in the future. One of the things that the film community and the film festival community had to learn was you either don't do a film festival or you choose to go virtual. So these are the things that we're moving forward with doing. And there were events, and there were organizations that did virtual screenings in the past, but we really had to rely upon it. So almost every film festival now has shifted over. From the Independent Film Society point of view, we decided not to do Indie Spirit in October because we had been on hiatus for 5 years. We didn't want to relaunch and do a virtual festival. So we moved that to next October. But our spring festival will be virtual. And we're kind of excited by that because when you're doing a virtual event, you could actually have more films, versus past, you're just kind of limited by, well, I have a Friday night, and I have one theater, and then I have Saturday until 5 o'clock. Well, with a virtual event, you could have many, many more films. So we're kind of thinking that might be a good expansion. And you know, one of the things is that we're going to be contracting with a company that we've been working with doing our ticketing. And once we start that virtual event, we can then do a series of things all summer long. So that's like really great. So even after pandemic, we still might do that.
Yeah.
You know, because it saves on renting a venue.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, turn to artists to give you hope, because there is so much innovation and so much like, well, let's start inventing. That has been happening. And I think you can hear it by listening to Ralph and Scott, and you'll definitely hear it if you listen to the conversations that they'll be hosting this week. Again, the creative or the community conversations are on ArtsOctober.com, and you can find out, you can pre-register so that you get reminders about all of them, and make sure that you participate online for these rich conversations led by really inspiring minds in the local arts. Thank you both, and good luck with your panels this week.
Thank you.
Angela.
Well, I thought that the best way to end the show would be on an upbeat note. Although I have to say that I think we've been pretty upbeat. I mean, I think that the message that comes through is that our theater community and our film community are incredibly resilient, and they're doing the best that they can, and that you should support them as they fight the fight of having great performance continue in the Pikes Peak region. And who would be better to lift our spirits than Birgitta DePree, whose comedic and dramatic acting have won her many awards here in the Pikes Peak region. She is part of our Artist of the Day series that has been running throughout ArtsOctober. We're highlighting 31 different artists of all different kinds, artists and performers and aerialists and chefs. And you can follow Peak Radar's social media. Each day, the stories on Instagram and Facebook are highlighting different diverse local artists. Birgitta will be featured on October 23rd, but I thought I'd give you a sneak peek of her video for her Artist of the Day on October 23rd, a little moment of Birgitta and some of her friends about why art matters.
It's Art Month in Colorado Springs. Wow! Birgitta DePree was supposed to be the featured artist today, but she couldn't be here because she's so busy trying to help the Milliball Art Theater make it through these crazy times, the pandemic times. So I'm here to tell you how beautiful and wonderful art is. But why take my word? No, there are many other people who want to tell you about art. Well, I think art is delicious, like a cupcake, you know? I mean, everybody can have a bran muffin for breakfast, but oh my goodness, when you can have a cupcake, woohoo, that's what you should do, right? Because it has icing and sometimes it has sprinkles, and that's what I think art is. It's like the sprinkle of life. That's the truth. Art makes you feel alive. That's a good thing. A really good thing to feel alive. Oh. Why are you asking this about the art? Don't you know? It's everything. You would be nothing without art. Nothing. Hi, I'm Judy of the Girl Sprouts of the United Nations of the World. And I'm here to tell you that art is important, because it is in almost every word that is important. Like the word smart. It has art at the end. And smart without art would just be sm, which is stupid. It's also in the word cart, which takes you places, and art can take you to different worlds. It's in the word earth, where it doesn't sound like art, but it is. So, remember that. Art is important.
Thank you so much, Birgitta. I love the part where she's talking about how art makes you feel so excited. And she's like, so I hope that you find something this ArtsOctober that makes you feel excited. Have one new arts and cultural experience with your family and friends, virtual or in person, this October. And by doing so, you're supporting your local arts community, you're uplifting your spirit and your wellness, and you're helping your community. You can find ideas about what you can do during Arts Month at ArtsOctober.com.